So again, my name is Mitch Milam. I'm a freelance Dynamics CRM architect. You can reach me at one of these three messages there. So please do so. If you have questions to follow up or anything else, also anything you'd like to see coming up as far as webinars and stuff goes like that, then please call me or email me there as well. A little bit of housekeeping, so everybody's muted, but if you would like to ask a question, you can ask it in the question box or just raise your hand, push the raise your hand button, and I'll open your mic up so that you can talk. So whichever is easier for you. So I'll try and keep a track of that as I'm presenting and things like that. And at the end, we can always have questions there. My screen is not advancing because I didn't push the right button. Thank you, Herb. Okay, the roadmap for this year is still we're doing webinars, so I'm going to cover I think what we're going to do for the next probably a month or so here in a minute. KnowledgeBit is my email delivery system for tips and tricks, and I've got some learning plans out at Free Stuff if you wish, and I'm also working on some more books and things and some on-demand training and things like that. So that's all coming this year as I can get to it. Okay, so here's what we're going to discuss today. So again, this is introduction. Customer service is a very, very broad topic, and we don't have time to do it all in one webinar, much less an hour. So what we're going to cover today is queues, cases, case creation rules, routing rules, subjects, email templates, and finally dashboards. We're not going to be discussing SLAs and entitlements or knowledge articles or inactive service hub or portals. I'm going to bridge those in other webinars that are probably going to be coming up probably this month. I think I'm going to make March and into the beginning of April our customer service month because it kind of all feeds together. So probably next time we'll talk about knowledge articles, the interactive service hub, weave in the SLAs and entitlements. Not sure if anybody's worked with those. And finally, we'll get to the portal product as well. So I'm just going to try to theme these all together because they do build on each other, and you'll end up with a system that you can use to run your company. So before I get started, can I see a show of hands of who uses the customer service module within Dynamics CRM/365? A few? Okay. Sorry about that. Very good. Okay. Very good. Okay. So let's start off with queues. So queues are merely containers for things or buckets. A queue can be email enabled. Queues can contain everything from cases to what we're going to talk about today, to activities, to anything else that you specify that you'd like to put into a queue. A queue is just a management kind of paradigm that was created to allow people to put things into a place where they know to go look for them. So the context we're using today is we're going to have several different types of queues, and those queues will allow us to actually move work from one place to the other as it kind of comes into the system, and also allows us to work the case as it may be. So when you create a queue, you can make it internal and public or private, but the cool thing about it is you can actually give it an email address. So this will be a real email address, and what this allows you to do is actually send an email to this email address and have it automatically picked up by server-side sync or the email router, whichever one you use in this case, and allow you to actually put the inbound email into a queue. In this case, what we're also doing is we're creating we've added a case creation rule where that email actually gets turned into a case, and we'll get into that in just a minute. But the cool thing about this is this allows you to actually get data into CRM with very little to almost no work. It's a little bit of work. You have to set up the email address. You have to enable it here, and make sure the configuration for the email router / server-side sync is correct. But this will basically solve a problem of people getting support emails into your system. Rob asks, can you send via queue? You should be able to, but I haven't actually tried it. But yeah, you should be able to. A queue is kind of like a user, so you should be able to send from the queue. I haven't actually tried it, but like I said, but that's something maybe I'll have to get back to you, Rob. Good idea, good question. Okay, so I think I'm missing a slide here, but the idea here is, and I'm going to show you this when we get actually into the CRM part, so you can actually see what we're talking about. But we're going to have a main customer service queue that's inbound, and then we're going to use the other pieces here that we talk about to actually route the case once it's been created to different queues so that different departments can work on those or different groups within the support department. So Keith says, yes, queue support outgoing emails if they're set up in the mailbox. So yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so let's talk about cases real quick. So the internal name for a case is an incident. That's why a lot of people refer to it. Different organizations have different things that they refer to a case as. So whatever fits your organization. So the big question here is, what is a case or what is an incident? Can anybody tell me what that is? Anybody know? A trouble ticket, Rob says. A ticket, yep. So here's my definition. Again, your mileage will vary, of course, but technically speaking, an incident is a failure of some type. Either the failure of a system, a failure of a process within that system, or the failure of a product. Regardless, something happened to cause the incident. Again, it could be any of these things. I didn't actually add a person in here because that's people can fail as well. But most of the time, an incident is a failure of something that behaved unexpectedly or not as designed. Okay, so how do we handle these failures? Well, we create cases within CRM. So this is a modified version of the standard case form, and there are three very, very important things that you need to have on your case form, and you need to use those. And we're going to talk about all those today. The first is the priority. Is it normal, low, or high? This helps gauge the quote-unquote temperature of the case. This also allows us to do management reporting for things. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but not everything is a high priority, not everything is a low priority. Many things are just normal priorities. So it's very important that you put the priority on it. It may not be on here by a default, quite honestly. It's kind of weird, but they drop it off for some reason, even though they use it in dashboards everywhere. So put the priority back on the case if you don't have it already. The next important thing is subject, and we're going to get to subjects here in a bit, but the subject allows you to define the category for the type of case it is. And this is used for management reporting later on. Okay. And finally, the third thing is origin. Where did this start off? Okay, did it start off via the web? Did it come in through the portal? Was it a phone call? Was it an email? Again, all of these things help us determine what we're actually working with, and it allows us to generate statistics about where things come from, how things are opened, what products they're working with, the category that the case is, and again, this helps management better understand the day in the life of a support person by understanding what they're faced with. So let's talk about case creation rules. So this is something that I think a lot of people do. It's been there for a long time, at least 2015, I think maybe 2013 before. But this allows you to actually turn emails into other things. So hang on one second, I got a cough. So what I did here is I actually created this. It's called record creation and update rule, or case creation rule, is what most people calls it. So I gave it a name, I have a source type, and then I tie it to a queue. Remember that customer service queue that we talked about earlier? This is it. Okay. So what this is going to say is, I would like to create a record anytime an email hits that queue. And then I can specify some properties if I want, the conditions. So do I want to create records from unknown senders? The answer is yes. Create a case if they have a valid entitlement for the customer. I just left that blank because I'm not using entitlements from this one. Do I create cases for activities associated with a resolve case? Yes, I do. And the last one is, if I get an email concerning a case that's already resolved, how long do I wait before or how long should the delay be before I create a new case? because what happens is you can actually email a closed case, and what happens a lot of times is it can very easily disappear because of the way the everything is set up inside CRM. So you can actually have an email appear to a case that's closed and nobody ever sees it. Again, it depends on how things are set up, but that's a danger here. So what this is saying is, if I get an email for a case that's already resolved and it's been resolved for more than a day, I want you to create a new case. Okay, and then we have an autoresponder that we can tie. So yes, I would like to automatically send a response, and we have an email template just called case auto response, and that will actually email the customer back saying, hey, I got your email, we're working on it. I'm sure everybody's seen that in one form or the other throughout whatever work you do, Amazon or whoever it might be that you send an email to. They'll send you back just a simple acknowledgement saying, hey, we got your email, and we'll let you know what happens next. Okay. So these are basically the rule definition itself, and then over on the right-hand side is we actually have a specific thing that tells us what we're going to do. In this case, I just called it Auto 1, which is this thing. Okay. So in this case, what we're doing is we're going to create a case. We can have a condition that is checked before we create the record. And in other words, based on information found in the activity, which in this case started off as an email, we can choose to do stuff or not do stuff. If the condition is met, we will create the record. If the condition is not met, we will not create the record. In this case, I have no condition set, which means every time I get an email that's created, it's going to create a case for me. And basically the properties that we set are basically coming off of the email itself. Okay, so those two things, we have a rule that says this is how we're going to handle the automatic case creation, and then we actually have the detail that actually says this is what we're creating. Okay, now this will take care of the actual converting an email into a case. So what will happen is it will create the case, and then it will attach the initial email to that case so that you can see where it came from. So that's what it does with that. Then what we can do is we can automatically route our case depending on what we're doing. So I have four queues created here. So customer service is my general queue, and then I have one for orders, one for loyalty questions, and then finally anything else. So what's happening here is it's going to route the case to one of these queues based on what it finds. So the first one it routes to is over on the left-hand side, is I'm looking to see if the subject does not contain data. If it does not contain data, I want you to add that to the customer service queue. And what this really means is I haven't assigned a subject because I haven't actually looked at the case to determine what the subject is about. Most of the time, this is probably going to be a manual operation unless there's something in the email that was indicative of a specific type of question. So like if it's a question or a problem, we can route it based on information within that. So there is some logic you could do, but like at this case, in this point, what I'm just going to do is I'm going to just see if the subject does not contain data. If it does not contain data, then I'm going to make an assumption that it hasn't been reviewed by a customer service representative, and therefore it goes into the general customer service queue, and that's what that is, the route to at the bottom. As you can see, we can route to a queue or to a user or team, depending on what the workflow is within your organization. See, Rob asks, can you create a condition to assign round robin? So does everybody know what a round robin is? If you don't, so you have, let's just say, you have 5 customer service reps. When a new case come in, I want to assign it to, say, rep 1. The second case goes to 2, the third case, etc. When we get through to the 5th case, we reassign it to rep number 1. It doesn't do that, Rob. I used to have a product that did that, believe it or not, back in the day. But I don't sell it really anymore, quite honestly. And I'm trying to think, did I actually put that in the workflow? No, I don't think I did. Anyway, I'm probably need to revive that. Actually, it's fairly useful for people, so maybe I'll revive that and give it away. But basically, all it would do is it would just it actually assign them to a team. So it works with teams, and then what it would do is it would just get the team membership and just keep track of the last person who got one, and then just assign it to the next one. When it hit the end of the list, it would give it to the first one. Whoops, sorry about that. Okay, so the general purpose customer support queue or customer service queue is what gets everything that is unassigned to people. Then I have one for orders. So what I'm doing here, there are several order-related things that that are subjects. And again, this is the subject is set by the customer service rep after they've reviewed the email that opened the case, and they make a determination of who within the support department should work with this specific case. So what I'm doing here, I'm checking the subject to see if it equals orders or missing wrong items or order not received or order not received. Well, the last one is a duplicate. Sorry about that. But anyway, so the idea here is if it's any of these conditions, I would like to route it to the order queue. Okay. And then all the other rules that we have identified just route to, if it's a loyalty thing, route to the loyalty queue. And if it's none of these things, in other words, if it's not a new case, which goes to customer service, and it's not an order or a loyalty issue, then it's going to be just a general question or issue. So we're just going to throw it into the miscellaneous queue. Okay. So that's what that looks like. Now, subjects are, again, I think, very underutilized, and they're very, very important for you to kind of realize what type of data you're consuming. Okay, so it's called a subject tree because, as you can see, there is a hierarchy. So we have a general thing like orders, query, service. Then we have gift card, e-card questions, order changes, order not received, query or information or products, or delivery of service or maintenance issues. Okay, so again, this allows us to actually categorize the case so that we know how it's being handled, or we can route it to, in the way that we've set this up, we can route it to the part of customer service that handles that specific type of thing. So again, it gives us institutional intelligence about the types of cases that we're using and we're encountering, and it also allows us to actually specify, for lack of a better term, what the proper department can work on those things. Let's see. Harsteep, you have a question? Let me unmute you. Okay, you're unmuted. You have a question?
Not related this one. I mean, I need a very, can say very important answer for my particular issue which going on. I'm not a CRM person. I'm new to it, but I'm facing such kind of issue right now to my client that I was seeing a error message that say I would like to know how we can correlate end-to-end relationship in CRM.
Okay, that's kind of beyond what we're talking about here today. So I'll email you later. We can maybe talk about that later. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, subject tree I think is very overlooked and very important. And again, this helps us categorize things for everything. Now, another thing that has been in CRM forever is the ability to have email templates. So the cool thing about email templates is it allows you to create a consistent response of things for whatever it might be. Here is the autoresponder that we were emailed back to the customer when they first created the case. So as you can see, the blocks in yellow are replaceable parameters that pull data out of the case. So we have a case title and a case number. We have the person or the customer or valued customer if there is not one. And again, the case title and the case number. So what will happen is whenever we actually create the case, we'll email back the customer identified in the case to let them know that we've got it. You can create email templates for everything from commonly answered questions or questions that come up all the time, And the idea here is it saves the customer service rep from having to type it in every single time. So you have a list of these responses, and all you do is when you're replying to the email, there's a button that says Insert Template. You click that button, select the response from the list, and it just adds it to the email. Okay. Nick asks, can you add a logo to your template? There's a couple articles out there. Most of what you have to do is you have to add a link to the logo, which the logo has to be on a forward-facing internet site of some type, like your website or something, and then you can do it. I think that's the current solution. Okay. Mark asked about the benefit of using subject versus a custom pick list. Basically, pick lists are not hierarchical. That's an easy word for everybody to say. So that's the big deal. So subjects are hierarchy in nature, so we can have parents and children and everything. And again, it's just a way of categorizing things. You could use a custom pick list, if that works for you. So whatever works for your business is what it is. Okay. So let's talk about dashboards. So here is the default customer service representative dashboard. As you can see, we have cases by type, and again, this is using the subject as the criteria. We have cases by priority in the bottom left-hand corner, so high, low, and normal cases. And then we have activities that we've accomplished, and what's new as far as posted stuff goes, record types that are new to the system. So a customer service representative could open this up at the beginning of their day and just look and see kind of where the system state lies at that specific point in time. Management is a little bit different. So basically, we've got a list of things that are in queues, as we can see from the bottom left. So we have most everything is in the customer service queue, but there's some in loyalty and maintenance and orders, and finally the my name is listed because I'm going to create all the data. Also, you can see who has the most active cases. So as you can see, I have those. Amber has some more, and then the system owns a couple. Those are ones that came in via the basically via the queue that were not assigned to anybody yet. Okay. So again, the idea behind these case settings is to allow management to actually get these dashboards, and yourself for that matter. Okay, so I think very, very important there. So, what questions do we have? Anything? Okay, Rob Harrison. Let me unlock. Okay, Rob, you're unmuted.
Hey there, good morning, Mitch. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thanks for covering this. Do you know anything about the new licensing breakouts for Dynamics 365 as it pertains to the customer service modules of what we now call CRM, but what they call Dynamics 365 customer service?
Yeah, so basically what that is you can purchase, if you have a need to have only the customer service modules, you can do that. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. I had that. Were you on last week's webinar? I can't remember. Let's see. Last week we had. I talked about the different modules you could get here. So come on, you can do it. So what would happen is if you only purchase the customer service module, what you would have is a reduced functionality set. So you would only see certain entities. So your service, pretty much the only thing you would have on your menu is service, and you would have accounts, contacts, cases, calendar, queues, product services, reports, and calendar. Okay, so this is what would happen if you only purchased the customer service module. So the idea behind the new licensing is it's very granular so that you don't have to actually purchase the whole thing if it doesn't make any sense to you. So like, for instance, if you don't have a sales and marketing effort at your company for some reason, or they use a different system, but you like the customer service things that are built into Dynamics 365, you can just purchase those and maybe add on to other stuff later. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah. Are you able to speak to contracts and how those have a relationship with cases and SLAs, or is that too
Let's talk
on
about
the
that.
fly? Or
Yeah, let's talk about that with the SLA thing. Contracts are very, very specific. In fact, I think I talked
Mhm.
about that in the last webinar as well. It's one of those things where if it fits your business, it fits it to the T. If it doesn't fit your business, you create your own because they have very specific ways of working.
You
So
mean you create your own contracts
you
entity?
create your own contract entity because what happens is they're very restrictive in how they work. They work a specific way, and that is it. It's not modifiable. You can modify the entity, but the processes behind the scenes are fixed. So
Okay.
we'll talk about that in the SLA and entitlements thing. I'll put contracts on there. That's a good point. I didn't think about that, but yeah. So contracts are something that are really useful, but they have some very specific restrictions to them, and quite honestly, a lot of customers need to work outside of the restrictions, so we have to create a custom.
Oh, that's good to hear because I've been struggling with the out of the box. I always try to use out of the box if it's there.
Yeah, well, absolutely, yeah. No, like I said last week, I had a customer. I said, okay, here it is. I give a sample. This is what we did. I copied, how they did things, and I said, okay, take a look at it and let me know because the way it works can't be changed. And so what happens is once you activate a contract, it freezes it, and you can't change
Right.
it. Well, very very few people work like that. So their contract can be modified after the fact, and that's not how things work. So
I'm gonna have to go back and watch last week's
and yeah,
webinar. I'm not sure how I missed that.
I don't
All
know.
right.
All right, thanks, Rob.
Cool. Thank you.
Bet. Let's see here. Component asks, is there any relationship between the rep dashboard and manager dashboard? These are just charts and lists and stuff like that. You can modify this. It's the same data. So it's just when they were coming up with this, they decided to make this dashboard have one set of data, and the other dashboard have another set of data. You can create your own. There's as you can see, there's five of them. So here's what operations looks like. This is based on KB articles, service leadership, so nothing there. Let's see, performance. I'm not sure what's in this one. This is a case by incident type, by priority, by agent. That's a SLA, case creation trend, case resolution trend, um, service rep. I already did that one. What's the other one? Social. It's very similar to the sales rep dashboard. Yes, that's the same. So anyway, so these are just charts that are built into the system, and you can add whatever you want. There's no really kind of relationship, quote unquote. Julie asked, what would you say are the shortcomings between this case system and other ticketing systems? I'm not a good person to judge on that, quite honestly. Each does different things. This is a very rudimentary system. It will do a lot of stuff for your basic stuff, but there are other systems that will do more things. I know there's a Microsoft partner called Provence that has an ITSM or IT service management, and it's built on top of CRM, and it's very, very robust. So it takes the standard customer service and multiplies it by 1,000,000 and gives you the functionality that you might need, connects to other systems for integration and stuff like that. So that one's pretty cool. That's really the only one I've seen. The other stuff, like there's ServiceNow is a big one, and a few of the others that are specific to like consulting companies and things like that. So, the main idea with anything with Dynamics 365 is it gives you the basics, and then you can modify it however you want to fit your business. Jamie asks, how do you see the category when working with the case? The category is actually the subject. So basically, when you have the subject, when you have the case open, it's just a subject here. So like this one defaults to what this case is. Hang on a second. Okay, so when I click this drop down, it's going to give me the tree. So I can go to orders, click missing wrong item, save and route that. I forgot to talk about that. I can actually save this, or I can save and route it. And what save and route is, like, so missing wrong item. So if I click save and route, it says, okay, do you know you're about to do this? Yes, I do know I'm about to do this. So what it will do is if it, once it's gone or saved, I can go back to my queues, and I would bet that if I go to all items and then change the queue to orders, I will see this, because that routing rule that I had set up showed me the routing that was going to based on subject, so it routed it to the orders queue. So that's how that works. Sorry, I'm reading stuff from David here. So if, I think if what David's question is, what if you have something that's not listed? David, you just there's no blanket entry. You would have to just do an other. So what you could do is create a custom field that says other, and then select subject from the select other from the subject tree, and then when have some JavaScript or business rule that will basically show the other text field, so that you could type it in only when the other is chosen. So that's a pretty good question. I think that's how I would do it anyway. How do you manage? See, Mark says, how do you manage not creating a second case from a response from a customer if they automatically sent the email to them? That's done on that case and creation rule, and it has the amount of time between when the case was closed. So that's a settable parameter on that thing. So just you have to modify that. See, Rob asked, can you have a child workflow be triggered included on the condition from the routing rules? I don't think so, Rob. So no, I don't. Route is not one of the things you would have to create a custom thing to do it. It's possible maybe, but you would have to kind of play around with it. Route is a thing that's inside CRM, but you would have to maybe create a custom set of logic to actually tie into that somehow. Uh, oh, Rob asked, what was that company called? I'm assuming you're Provence. So Provence is how it's spelled. She'll ask, can I elaborate more on SLAs? No, I'm not talking about SLAs today. So again, that's an entirely different conversation, and we'll take up the whole webinar. So we're going to talk about that in a different webinar. That's why we're not talking about it today. So yeah, so SLAs and entitlements and contracts, those are all kind of one big ball of a string. So we kind of have to work that all together. And like I said, it's just too much to cover in one thing today. Let's see what else we got here. Is that it? Rob, did you have another question?
I did, yes. Probably a full-blown other topic, and forgive me if you covered this one, but they bought ADX Studio and rolled it in now. I'm curious about like customer service portals, like
Yeah.
self-service, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Customer
So
being able to log in, create their own
right.
monitor, update.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's going to be probably the last webinar that's going to tie all this stuff together. But like I said, that's an entire webinar to itself. So yeah, so what Rob's talking about is about a year and a half ago, or close, they purchased ADX Studio to get the portal product, and they've since released it as the Microsoft Portals. So it went from having a standalone um, product that basically you just kind of built yourself and deployed to your own server to being a Microsoft hosted, just like CRM is. So if you're using Dynamics 365, you actually have a free license. Otherwise, it's $500 a month to get it, and you basically attach it to your CRM system, and then almost all the configuration, actually with the Microsoft version, all the configuration is handled inside of CRM itself. So we'll cover that. Like I said, that's a very, very
How
expensive
much did you
topic.
say it was?
It's $500 a month. But with Dynamics 365, you actually get a license for free. It's built into the product.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But right now, if it's not, it's 500 a month, as far as I know. But like I said, the 365, which is what you actually have to get the portal now, it's part of it's free. So you can't even buy ADX Studio anymore.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yep, they stopped that.
Very good. Thank you.
You bet. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I appreciate everybody joining today.